What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to the Two Goat Show. We're your hosts, Mariah and Steph. Steph, happy Friday. Good to see you. How you doing?
Yo, happy Friday. Yep, it's Friday, not Two Goat Thursday, Two Goat Friday, which might be better. But yeah, I'm excited because it's also game day. So excited to preview that show. Last preseason game, just one step closer to the real thing. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. Game day definitely snuck up on me. I didn't even find out that it was game day till yesterday when I was talking to Steph about not being able to do the show yesterday. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, we'll do it before the game. And I'm like, oh, shit, yeah, we play. Yeah. Even in my own city, and I don't even know what the hell's going on, so. Chat, happy Friday. I hope everybody had a great week. Hope y'all are ready to get into a great football game tonight. Start off your weekend. Throwback, first in the door. Appreciate you, sir. As always, Don in the house. What's up? Got Jimmy. What up? Rob, Two Goats, Niakila, good to see you. Got Joel in the house. What's good? What's good? We see you all. We appreciate you all for being here. Please make sure you are subscribed to both channels, that you like both channels. It's free, doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us out tremendously. So please subscribe to both channels. We appreciate it. Steph, so like you said, the last preseason game, I kind of want to we'll go through position by position. Obviously, we know, the guys that are for sure going to make the team, but let's kind of talk about those guys, at the end of each position group that are kind of battling it out and, need to really step up in this game and, earn that roster spot. Quite a few good battles happening. Let me pull up the depth chart really quick so we can kind of see what's going on. I'm sure there's like some guys, obviously, at the end of the depth chart that aren't even listed on here. So, if we get to a specific position that for sure there's other guys out there battling for those spots, feel free to let us know, Steph. I'm sure you probably more than ESPN here. So, let's just at the top, obviously Brock Purdy, we know, don't need to, even though some people are putting it out there that, there's a competition there. Obviously, we know that
you gotta
Brock
be trolling,
Purdy,
right?
right. But for that second spot, it's really coming down to, the guy, like this is how I was, who was I talking to? Ty, and kind of explaining it was, with Brandon Allen, he seems to me like a more of a Kyle guy. He's going to get in there. He's going to do whatever Kyle tells him to do. And he's just kind of like a not great, not terrible, just kind of like a mid, consistently blah, right? And then you got Dobbs, who he's going to listen to Kyle, but if what Kyle's telling him isn't there, he's going to do his own shit. He's going to do whatever he needs to do to make a play, right? So, but he has some really low lows and then some really high highs. So he's more of a, so it's like what, and then Tanner, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to that kid, but, I think it comes down to like, what, if God forbid something happens to Purdy and we need to put one of these guys in, which one is Kyle going to feel the most comfortable with to be able to win us football games? Where are you kind of at with the quarterback battle here?
Well, pretty much what you said is exactly how I see the situation as well, where, yeah, I get the sense that Brandon Allen is the prototypical backup quarterback, right? That the 49ers would probably prefer, because I don't think they're looking for fun and exciting necessarily out of a backup. They just want someone who, like you said, is just looking to do what he's told. And that would probably be Brandon Allen. of course, like personally, I like Dobbs again just for the excitement factor. If he did have to play, he can kind of will himself to some extra yardage with his legs, or scramble and find a play downfield or something like that. So I like that about him. But yeah, I'm with you. I think it all comes down to, can he play within the structure of the offense, right? I think it's not that the 49ers necessarily would say we don't want someone who can extend plays and things of that nature. It's more so that the baseline of being a good quarterback in this system, or even a backup quarterback in the system, is that you play within the structure, because there's a lot of faith in the structure, and Kyle Shanahan wants you to trust it, right? So, yeah, I think if Josh Dobbs can prove that he can do that again, I feel like he did a good job of that in the second preseason game against the Saints. If he can do that again against the Raiders this week, I think it'll help his chances of making this 53. And who knows, the 49ers, they can look both good enough that the 49ers maybe elect to keep 3, just knowing that Dobbs probably wouldn't make it back to their practice squad.
Right.
But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it's funny if you look in the chat. So the first comment, right? Trade Dobbs, Allen is QB2. The very next comment after, the next comment after that one, Dobbs is QB2. Brandon Allen seems like practice squad. The complete opposite things back to back. It's funny. But yeah, that shows you what kind of battle it is there. But like you said, I don't think either would make it back to the practice squad, honestly. So definitely going to be very interesting to see how that works. Tanner is the one I could see, that makes it to the practice squad, if he even makes it that anywhere. But I mean, from the little bit that we saw from Tanner, it seems like people, think that obviously, with some time on a roster and, all this, like he has a good arm. John Lynch even said, like at the end of practice yesterday or the day before, whatever, that, there was a ball thrown and he looked over thinking that it was going to be Brock Purdy, and really it was Tanner Mordecai throwing the ball. So, it's not, I don't think he's just out there like throwing ducks. Like the kid can probably, do something decent, but he's just so far at the end of a depth chart that, it's hard for those kids to stick around anywhere. So we'll see. Yeah, let's go next to let's go running back. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, right? Then you come down to me, I'm thinking Jordan Mason is the clear number 2 guy. But obviously this still has Elijah Mitchell. We know Elijah Mitchell has been their, number 2 guy for a couple years now, but the injuries, right? Going in like right after the draft. Now this was with a healthy Isaac Guerendo, thinking like, he'd actually be decent enough through training camp and whatnot. I thought, okay, as long as these running backs can all stay healthy, Elijah Mitchell included, that Elijah Mitchell would end up being traded. Just because you have Jordan Mason, you have Isaac Guerendo, and then you have what's the other kid's name, the undrafted?
Cody Schrader.
Yeah. And from everything it seems like to me, Schrader is, going to make this team. So I'm very interested to see what, I know Guerendo has been back at practice now. So I'm interested to see if he ends up playing today, how that, how that ends up looking. But obviously we know that, we have like one or two many running backs here. And obviously this is including Kyle, we'll wrap Kyle like juice into the numbers. So somebody has to go. We have too many. What do you think? How do you think this running back battle shapes up here?
Yeah, this one's tough because like I feel like it was trending towards Jordan Mason being the unquestioned number 2, but he did get hurt after the first preseason game, which kept us from being able to see if he was going to be able to improve on the first preseason game performance. Obviously, as a rusher, he's fine. He's really strong at that. But pass protection has always been, I guess, the Achilles heel for Jordan Mason getting more opportunities. And I mean, I feel like he kind of left some stuff on the field after the first preseason game, and we didn't really get a chance to see if he was able to improve on that. I'm sure they've seen it in practice, maybe. But I think that's depending on that, like that's going to keep Elijah Mitchell around, because Elijah Mitchell is really good at pass protection, and maybe they just select to keep him as a pass protection kind of guy. And okay, maybe if they audible, then Elijah Mitchell's in there and they're fine running with him as well. But obviously you always have that injury risk with Elijah Mitchell. That's why I think they ultimately probably keep at least 2 running backs on the practice squad that they can easily bring up. I think Cody Schrader probably makes the practice squad. And Breida probably makes a practice squad because he looks so great. And who knows, maybe Breida ends up getting scooped up, but he was a free agent, before the 49ers signed him. So maybe not. And so, yeah, with Isaac Guerendo coming back, I think obviously he's going to make the 53. And so I think if you include Juice, that's like 5 guys already that you have. You really can't afford to keep any more than that. So I think Cody Schrader and Matt Breida make the practice squad.
When Kyle was on KMBR yesterday, I think he had said about Schrader that he runs the ball well. He said we saw it on tape. He does, in his college days, it translated to practice and it translated over to the preseason games, he said. And he said what he means by like runs the ball well. He said he doesn't mess around. He hits hard. He knows the right hole to hit. He doesn't skip a hole. He said he takes what the defense gives him. He said he's a true running back. So, I mean, that's the only running back throughout the little time that he was talking there that he even talked about, and like he was talking him up. So
yeah, I think they like him. I just don't think they can afford to keep 6, right? So
that's what I'm thinking. If a trade has to be made, because
if
your head coach is out there talking up a guy, and we have all these other teams that are always constantly watching and trying to take every single player that we let go of. I wouldn't think that, somebody you like, you're going to talk up and then try to get him back to your practice squad.
Yeah, I'll say this. If Isaac Guerendo, who obviously is going to play quite a bit today because he hasn't gotten any other preseason action. If he looks good, both as a rusher and in pass protection, then yeah, I think you could probably say goodbye to Elijah Mitchell and they'll probably look to trade him. That's not a guarantee that anyone would trade for him either.
Right.
Because if you look at the Texans, if you look at the Dolphins, they're pretty deep at running back. So I don't even think they would, really be interested in Mitchell. So we'll see, but yeah, I don't know. I think maybe they go 5, wait for Elijah Mitchell to have a season-ending injury or something, and then cut him after that. I don't know. And then you can bring up Cody Schrader or Breida.
All right.
They're deep. They're deep.
Yeah. Let's move on to wide receiver. Obviously, we know our young guys, and Kyle brought this up in his interview a bunch of times that both of them are behind the 8 ball because of injuries. Yeah. And he kept saying that, he kept saying, oh, well, Cowing did this, but he's behind the 8 ball still. And Pearsall, he's behind the 8 ball. He's really behind the 8 ball, so he kept saying that.
Damn 8 ball.
Yeah. And then before we get into that, some news came out that, and I didn't hear his interview. So I'm not sure the exact way he put it, but supposedly Silver was on KMBR or one of those and said that Pearsall had a shoulder injury even before the draft, and the 49ers were aware of this. And now this is the same shoulder that he's currently dealing with the injury with. And I thought that was kind of odd that we haven't had a first round draft pick in so many freaking years, and we finally get one, and then you're going to use it on an injured guy. And then he's been injured the entire time since draft, and we're all here wondering well, what the hell? This guy's like injury prone. What's going on? Why does he have all these injuries? Well, he was injured to even fucking begin with. So, here we are. Where do you think we're going with these wide receivers? Oh, wait. Before you get started, if chat, Steph says Trent Taylor is making this roster, I'm kicking her off the show right now. So you have been warned. And a shout out to Cowling for being such a great returner in this practice, in this last preseason game, because now he made Trent Taylor being able to get his ass out of here.
Yep. Yeah, he did. So we'll start on Ricky Pearsall. Obviously, to hear that the 49ers knew that he was hurt and still ended up drafting him, that's concerning. Because I'm sure that the 49ers doctors got to look at Pearsall, right? Like, I mean, you always do that. You do medicals. That's a part of the draft process. And if the 49ers doctors said, we're not concerned about it, and that's what made the 49ers kind of, ultimately go through with that decision of drafting him at 31, then that's kind of a separate issue. Maybe I'm not feeling as confident about the 49ers doctors,
Right.
But at the same time, like, you can't really predict that he would re-aggravate it.
Yeah.
And so that's the unfortunate thing. I think with the shoulder injuries, there's always that risk of re-aggravation. I mean, we saw it with Debo like last year, right? So, and with Debo, I think rest did help him. And then ultimately he was able to play in like the following game after, he missed 3 games and then he was able to play after. I'm talking about the playoff injury now where he was able to play a week after that one. So yeah, and we honestly, we don't even know what his injury is, which is what makes this kind of complicated as well. Cause we're just kind of speculating. I said it earlier. It wouldn't surprise me if the 49ers redshirted Ricky Pearsall to have him get surgery. If it's looking like it's taking so long to recover. It's already been several weeks. It doesn't seem like they can really pin down a return time for him, like a timetable. I know Kyle Shanahan said they were hopeful about week 1. He hasn't practiced yet. We're getting close to, that practice week for week 1. And you add on the fact that Kyle Shanahan said he's behind the 8 ball already anyway. So I don't know. It wouldn't shock me if that happened, especially with the vagueness of it all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel great about it. Just unfortunate. But that's the risk they took. As far as the other wide receivers, I mean, obviously Jacob Cowing.
Who? Jontre Kirkland.
He's one of the ones they signed. So, dude, they've had so many injuries at wide receiver. Like, they signed a bunch of guys. Who was it? They had signed oh my god, they had signed 2 guys that ended up getting hurt, and they cut them because they just
crazy.
Yeah, it
was, I totally forgot about Robbie Chosen Anderson, whatever his full name is now.
So those 2 guys those 2 guys just ended up being camp bodies pretty much. So I not even discuss them. Jacob Cowing, obviously he looked great. Yeah. I don't doubt that he's behind a little bit, right? But he looks like he's going to be able to come up to speed pretty quickly. Right?
Yeah, he seemed like he didn't have no problem catching up this past preseason game.
I probably what Kyle means more than anything is he needs to catch up with the playbook and things like that, and knowing where he needs to line up and all those things, right? But he looks good, so that's one positive. I think he's going to be a year 1 contributor, especially if Pearsall is going to be dinged up for the first bit of the year. So my prediction is Ayuk, Debo, Jennings. Those are easy. Obviously the 2 rookies, so Pearsall and Cowing, and then Chris Conley.
Yeah.
So that's my 6, and I think they go 6. And honestly, that's a pretty easy decision because if you look at the other guys, it's Danny Gray, it's Trent Taylor, Ronnie Bell, Tay Martin, and then the other 2 guys we mentioned, which nothing that they've done this preseason or even in camp, frankly, would would warrant them making the roster. Now, this is where I think there's the outside chance of Trent Taylor. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster, but I'm just saying if they put Ricky Pearsall on IR, and that's a big if, right? Like that's just tinfoil hat speculating. If he needs surgery, they're going to put him on IR. Then Trent Taylor could possibly make the roster, right? But otherwise, pretty obsolete. And so we'll see, because I thought Jacob Cowan looked pretty comfortable returning punts.
Yeah, and like, do any of these guys, like Ronnie Bell, I don't think he would even make it back to the practice squad, honestly. Like, he didn't have a great rookie season, but I think he showed enough that there's a lot of teams that have some back end wide receivers on their team that have never even made a catch, like like some pretty shitty wide receivers on their rosters, and they could definitely use, a Ronnie Bell. I don't know, probably not a Danny Gray. I wouldn't imagine somebody would swoop him up too fast, but you never know.
I definitely agree on Ronnie Bell. I think he would get snatched up. Chargers would be on line one, calling him immediately. I'm sure a reunion with Harbaugh would be good for both sides. Otherwise, if that didn't happen, I'm sure the 49ers would like him back on the practice squad. But I just don't feel like he did enough to make the 53. So yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen.
I could see Tay Martin coming back to the practice squad. And then Robbie Chosen, like when he was on the Dolphins, he was put back onto the practice squad so many times, like back and forth and to the active roster, down to the practice squad, called up, So I could definitely see he's not a person that thinks all of a sudden he's too good to be on the practice squad. I think he's come to terms where he realized that that's what he is now. So I could definitely see, somebody like him hanging around on the practice squad as well. And, if God forbid, we ever need to call him up, he's there. But yeah, Ronnie Bell, I mean, I'm wondering though, if especially you're talking about Harbaugh, I totally forgot about that, but I'm wondering if the 49ers can end up making a trade, and get something, whether even if it's a 6th round, 7th round pick, like better than cutting him and not getting shit from him for him.
I mean, I think
we drafted him in what round?
Yeah, I think you always try, right? Like, I'm sure behind the scenes there's some calls being made. We're already seeing some guys from other teams get traded today, right? I think there were like 3 trades today, and there was one yesterday. So this is when teams do that, right? Guys who they know are not going to make their 53, you call around, you say, hey, you interested? All that. If they end up, not getting traded, is because no one was interested in giving up anything for that player.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm sure the 49ers are working the phones and trying.
Real quick, the couple things that besides being behind on the 8 ball that Shanahan had said about Cowling, he had said that he's a tough kid, that they wanted to make sure, see how he did in the preseason game, make sure, that what didn't look too big for him. And, he said, that it didn't look too big for him. And he said he's very poised as a punt returner. So I love to hear that, because man, like, can we get somebody that can return punts and kicks that can actually do something? Like, please. And then Lynch, John Lynch also brought up, something about him being, a returner as well. So like, I thought that was good, that Shanahan and Lynch both, brought up and mentioned about him returning. So like, hopefully that means that, we don't need Trent Taylor. That's why I'm holding out hope for you guys.
I truly think they want to give other guys those opportunities, and they want those other guys to like fit the bill, because I don't think they want to be forced to keep Trent Taylor just because he's good at like returning, So yeah,
like, you suck as everything else, but we have to keep you because nobody else can return.
Yeah, that's a nightmare scenario.
Let's move over to tight ends. Obviously, Logan Thomas was added back to the squad yesterday. Hopefully, during this little week and a half, whatever that he's been off, he's been practicing his blocking. And then we got Eric, we got Cam Latu, and we're missing someone. Willis.
Really
Braden Willis.
Oh, Braden Willis. Oh, that's weird that they would leave him out.
Yeah, that's weird that Latu's on there and Willis isn't. What are you hoping to see from this battle, and who do you think makes the squad?
Well, I think, besides Kittle, I think Eric Sauber, is a lock.
Yeah,
I would say Braden Willis. Honestly, I've seen a lot of progress from him throughout like training camp and in the preseason, and I think they were really trying to get him involved, and I thought he looked pretty good. I think the obvious one here is Cam Latu.
Yeah,
he's going to be cut. I wouldn't even bring him back on the practice squad, to be quite honest with you.
Dang.
I'd be surprised if the 49ers kept him on the practice squad. Like, not even a safe face. He's truly that disappointing. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I mean, with the way that his preseason finished last year before he got hurt, and now, like, there hasn't been enough growth to really warrant keeping him around. So
Yeah.
I don't have much faith in that. So I'd probably have Jake Tongas. We'll see if Mason Pline makes a practice squad. I'd keep those two guys. I think both of those you can cut and they'd be fine. Logan Thomas is weird, right? Like,
Yeah.
they had already cut him. So, and I don't know if that was because he was hurt at the time or like it was shortly after he was hurt. So they didn't see much of Logan Thomas. We know he's good enough to make a 53, right? Like he was a starter at some points last year for Washington. So it's kind of, I don't know what to make of him. But if the 49ers decide to keep 4 tight ends, I could see him making the 53. But then again, like they already cut him, so like they cut him once. So what's keeping them from doing it again? Why did they sign him back? I don't know, but that one's a mystery. But yeah, I'd keep Logan Thomas over Latu. Tell you that.
You think we see him play? Like, you think we see all of them play tonight, or?
I think.
I think Eric, he should be tight end too. I think, right? Sauber.
Yeah. I have Sauber too. Yeah, I think they'll Logan Thomas. I don't know, because he just like re-signed yesterday. So,
but you would think they need to see something from him.
Yeah, but he's a veteran at the same time, so I don't know. Yeah, other than that, I think they all kind of play.
All right, let's move on to the O-line. So it was made a big deal because both Shanahan and Lynch were asked in these interviews about, I guess people freaking out that Brock Purdy played this past preseason game with that O-line and yada yada, which I didn't even think of there being an issue with that. Like, people make the biggest fucking deals out of everything. Like, it's football. He has to get in there and play freaking football. Like, give me a fucking break. And Shanahan responded and said that most of the O-line in there was the starting O-line. He said that he was playing with possibly our 2 starting tackles, obviously, depending on Trent Williams, our starting center, our starting right guard, ding, 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 and Banks was down. He said, obviously, with the broken pinky. So he made it seem like the only one that could possibly be different come the first game, aside from Trent Williams' situation, would be the Aaron Banks spot. So I thought that was interesting that he already is calling Pooney the starting right guard. John Lynch also had talked about Pooney and said Pooney really earned his role on this team. Thoughts on O-line battle?
Pooney is obvious. Like, yeah, I mean, clearly he outperformed expectations and the opportunity fell on his lap and he never looked back. And I'm so glad that both John and Kyle have said it like right away, and they didn't give it much thought. Well, not to say that they didn't give him much thought, but they didn't overthink it. Like obviously Puni has looked as good as he has. He should be your starting right guard. So I'm glad they like have made that proclamation already, I guess even indirectly. But yeah, for the offensive line, I think as far as like who needs to have a strong game, Ben Barch has missed a good portion of training camp. He was the guy who was operating at the guard spots. So even before I think Puni started getting that opportunity, he was taking some reps at right guard, also left guard. And then Aaron Banks got hurt. So you kind of need Ben Barch to see what he can do. And he's been penciled in as the other guard, but as the backup guard. But I think you want to be sure that he's going to be good enough. So he probably has a good chance of making it. But I would like to see him, tonight, see how he looks. I'd also say like I want to see more of Nick Zakel. I think he looked good as a backup center when he did get those opportunities. He really wasn't that bad. But now, like last preseason game, he played at left guard because of the injury to Banks, and Ben Barch was still hurt at that time. So I'm interested in seeing what the offensive line rotation not rotation, but like how the twos look today, like who they have in there, because I think that will give us a better idea of maybe who they're kind of thinking has the inside track there. Jarrett Kingston is an interesting one too, because he was the 6th round pick, or was he undrafted? No, he was 6th round pick. Nugent was undrafted.
6th or 7th, yeah.
Yeah, he was 6. So he's looked really good as well. And so I wonder what the 49ers are thinking with him. Do they kind of want to hide him in this game for there to be a better chance of him, being able to make it back to the practice squad? Or do they give him every opportunity to make this 53, right? I mean, it's either one. So yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with Jarrett Kingston, and if he does play, I'm interested to see him.
Yeah, me too. He's one that I've definitely been, having circled on my list to keep an eye out for in this game, because it's like we drafted him, but we really haven't heard too much about him. It's just like we having all these other guys battle, and he's kind of been like a hidden piece out there on the outside. So I'm definitely interested to see what goes on with him. And then we just have like so many guys, like stuffed in these positions that obviously aren't going to make the roster, but I'm interested to see who's going to, come back around and make it back onto the practice squad, and who they're going to, keep for that. And, like it makes it hard right now, because obviously you have Trent Williams that's out, Feliciano's hurt, Burford's hurt, Banks is hurt, so it's like a big freaking mess. All right, so before we get on to the defense, let me just announce, for those that don't know, we are going to end the show with a giveaway today. Just a little thank you, for those. We know a lot of people had taken, the summer off, taking a break from football. Even some content creators, took a break from making content. But, me and Steph, we continued on throughout the off season, and we know, a bunch of you that stayed watching our content throughout the time. Just a little thank you to you guys. So we're going to end the show with a giveaway. One winner will take all. Let me show you guys really quick. I added a couple things to it. So it's going to, hold on, let me pull up the camera so I can see what I'm showing you guys. Okay. So it's going to be Brock Purdy, got draft diamonds. It's going to be this artwork,
Oh, wait. Just stop sharing the screen for a second so we could see the.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of small.
Okay. So it's going to be the Brock Purdy draft diamonds. our show, the Two Goats Show, is named after these two, so I thought it was fitting. This is artwork done by and signed by the artist. It's numbered, so that'll be included in there. We also have CMC fireworks added in there, and then this little baby right here, a little goat sticker. All right. So we'll end the show with that. I'll have you guys start getting in there in probably in about 10 minutes. I'll have you guys start entering. So stick around and yeah, stick around and you'll have a chance to get in there. But yeah, we appreciate you all. We appreciate, everybody that's come back that continues to support us. We know obviously there's tons of shows out there that you guys can be watching, and you guys are here with us, so we definitely appreciate y'all. And we always see the same names in here week after week after week. Always the same people in here supporting us. So just a little thank you to you all. Let's get into the defense, Steph.
Let's do it.
Defensive line. So this battle, in years past, this team always made so much about the D-line, like drafting D-line, the first draft picks that we have, like D-line, 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 D-line. Like all of us are always like, what about the back end of the defense? What about the O-line? What, and it seems like this year, even though we've added, Leonard Floyd, we've added some pieces, the D-line noise has been a lot quieter this offseason. There's not as much coming out from camp and from reports about the D-line as there has been in years past. So you being somebody that had been there for, multiple training camp practices and whatnot, kind of give us, your thoughts on how this D-line is going to shake out. If you want to take it, from do the outside separate than the inside, up to you how you want to take it. But, as we can see, there's a lot of names, down on this depth chart that I've never even heard of a day in my life. So, kind of let us know how this is going to shake out. And obviously, we know Kalia Davis, unfortunate injury. Hopefully, we get him back sometime in the middle of the season. And yeah, what you think, Steph?
Yeah, so I love the two starting outside guys, Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd. I think both of those guys, obviously Bosa is going to be really good, but I think Leonard Floyd is a great complement to Bosa. So I think the starting edges are going to be very strong. I do like what I've seen from Yetur Gross-Matos as well. Just that, maybe like it'll take some time, I guess, for him to like really get going. Like throughout camp, what I saw, he'd flashed, right? But I think, maybe he's still getting used to the system and all that. So once he's able to, I guess, play freely because he doesn't have to think as much, I think he'll be good as a backup. On the other side, you have Robert Beal Jr., who also flashes, right? But he's a young player. What is this? Like his second year? So he's still really young, and so I think there's still a lot that he can learn. I think he's going to make the 53, but I guess like for me that like if he gets a lot of time, that would worry me. As far as him being in the rotation, unless there's like certain plays where they'll keep him in, or certain down and distances where they'll put him in. And that would help him because he's a speed guy. So we'll see. We'll see how they kind of work him in. As far as the interior guys, like Malik Collins, also kind of the same thing as Gross-Matos, like flashed here and there in training camp as well. He's a big guy, so that's why I think like the run defense and the interior will be a lot better with Hargrave and Collins. Like they can really plug up the middle. So I'm excited about that. And I think Jordan Elliott's a good player as well. So and I do think there'll be a lot more rotation with the interior guys than the outside guys. So him and Givens as well will get mixed in. And Givens is pretty good. Like, I think people just forget about him because he's been with the team, so, but he's been a backup for the team for as long as he has been. But he's really solid, and he looked good in camp as well. T.Y. McGill has also made some plays where I'm like, ooh, like maybe he can make the 53. I don't know, but in any case, like he's practice squad material to me. Same as Evan Anderson. I think Evan Anderson is pretty good. He was the undrafted free agent that they picked up, and so he'll probably make it to the practice squad. Be someone that if there is an injury, like he can come in. Alex Barrett had a really strong game last week, right? And so Barrett, it's an interesting player. I think he can use a strong game, tonight against the Raiders, and who knows? Maybe the 49ers elect to keep Barrett over Beal Jr. I don't know. But I think last season they kept 10 defensive linemen, and so I'm thinking about like the same number of guys that they would keep. So it might be tough for Alex Barrett, but he can make a case for himself tonight, potentially. But there's a lot of talent. I think like there's a lot of intriguing guys for the depth, guys that I would definitely want to hold on to as practice squad players, like Sam Okoye-Ononu. Before he got hurt, like that first week of training camp, like he was actually making some plays as well, and he was winning a lot of one-on-one reps against guys. But then he got hurt, and then like I don't think I saw him after that because like by the time he came back, it wasn't open to fans. So, but I liked him in the early going of training camp. I think Shaquille Brown has made a couple plays as well. Would like to keep him on the practice squad too. So yeah, it's just been there. Like I said, there's a lot of intriguing guys in the depth. Some of those guys that you said, like you said, you haven't heard too much about. Those are the guys that in camp have looked pretty good, and so hopefully they can make it to the practice squad.
Yeah, we'll see which ones step up and have a good game tonight and try to, like you said, Alex Barrett, there's a couple there that are on that bubble that, maybe with a good showing tonight, they might be able to edge their way on and scoot somebody else out of there. Let's go to linebacker. Obviously, we know Fred and then Dre. Hopefully we can get him back sometime, towards the mid of the season. It was good to see him out there actually, doing some exercising, doing some different, things on the side of the field, at least doing something, right? Like, good to see him out there. And then these other linebacker spots, we got our two young guys, D Winters and Jalen Graham, like that. I'm excited for both of those guys. You got Curtis Robinson, who talked to the media this week and talked about, he's had other opportunities, obviously, to go to other teams and maybe compete for different spots or whatnot. But, he really saw something special with this linebacker group and, really wants to be a part of them. So he said that that's why he keeps coming back here, obviously, even being at the end of the depth chart. And, so we'll see how he can shape up that. Who do you think ends up, like, who's filling in for Dre and then who's taking those other spots?
Yeah, so Curtis Robinson, I think, is making a strong case to make the 53. So last year they kept 6 linebackers. And we already know the top 3. I think, Greenlaw is going to make this roster, or he's going to start the season on PUP. So we'll keep him on the 53. D Winters, I think has to make the 53. And then from there, like to me, it's kind of a toss up between a number of those guys. I think Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles has the inside track just because, like, he's been in the system in this defense already. He plays special teams. So I think he has an edge there because of all those things. Like, he's a reliable veteran at this point. But like I said, Curtis Robinson, I think, is showing some things where, like, he looks like the next linebacker that they've developed pretty nicely and you want to see more of, right?
Mhm.
So I kind of want him to make the roster. Now, the question is, should Curtis Robinson make the roster over Flanagan Fowles, or should he make it over either Graham or Tatum Bethune? Graham and Bethune, to me, are in similar spots because they were both like late linebacker picks in their respective drafts. So Graham was last year and Bethune this year.
Mhm.
So I think you could get away with possibly cutting one of those guys and keeping Flanagan Fowles if they want to do that, and have Curtis Robinson make the 53 as well. Or if you want to keep one of those younger players on the roster, then you have Curtis Robinson taking Flanagan Fowles' spot. So that's kind of the dilemma. And we always think the 49ers like to keep safe veteran guys who have been here before, all those things, right? So this is kind of a test. Like, do you want to keep the safe, maybe like lower ceiling kind of guy, or do you lean into some of these, younger players like Graham or Bethune? I think Bethune has flashed enough where I don't know if he would make it to the practice squad if he didn't make the 53, right? I think he'd get poached. So they've got some tough decisions to make, and this preseason game could help, I think, make them a more informed decision.
Yeah, this linebacker battle is one of the toughest ones, I think, because there's some good talent here. And then, like you said, do we keep, like, if it were up to me, I'm letting DFF go. I just think, he knows the system. He's been around, yada, yada, yada. But what has he done? He's just been a guy, It's not like he's out there making all these plays or, it's just like he's just been a guy at the end of the depth chart. So like I really hope Curtis Robinson makes the roster. And then like Tatum Bethune, like we've seen, some flashes from him in preseason or whatnot, but he's somebody since, he's like you said, he's drafted in the 7th round, a young guy. People don't really know too much about him. Like I'm thinking, he could possibly come back to the practice squad. And then DFF, like, let him go to the Texans or to wherever the hell, that one of our old coaches are going to be there that think the same thing. Oh, he's a vet. He knows the system. He's steady enough, yada, yada. Like, why do we have to keep those guys around? I'm tired of him already. So, like you said, but 6, like, that's tough because especially, Dre still counts against the 53, right? So 2, 4, yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's really tough. So
yeah. All right, let's move on to the cornerbacks. Obviously, we know our 2 starting guys there. But this battle, down for those other spots, has been good. Like I'm really excited about, this whole back end of our defense, the cornerbacks and the safeties. But Bernardo Green, man, that rookie has really came in and has really impressed so far. I've really liked what I've seen from him. I think it was John Lynch in his interview was talking about, how they were trying to push him to see, like putting him outside, putting him inside, like they, he said, yeah, it's a lot to throw at anybody, especially a rookie in his first, training camp, yada, yada. You're already trying to, keep your head above water. And then you got, your team throwing you at different positions. And basically he said, like we're trying to do that early so that when it is game time, he's already, knows what to expect. He already can handle both roles. He already has both roles down. So it kind of seems like they're doing to him what they've done to Diamador Lenore, getting him those reps inside and outside. And, they like guys on any parts of this team that can play multiple roles, can do numerous things. And, that's your way to stick and make a roster spot, especially on this team, but pretty much anywhere in the NFL, right? Like if you can there's only so many roster spots. So if you can get rid of 2 guys because one guy does both the jobs as those 2 guys, you know, it's pretty more likely that one guy is going to make the team. So, you know, but we still have these guys that like we've been hanging on to, like Sam Womack. You know, I know a lot of fans like him for some reason, and we haven't got to even see much of him. He's been a good special teams player. He makes some, you know, really good plays on special teams, but for whatever reason, can't get on the field. Other than that, but then you have, you know, like Chase Lucas. You know what happens with him? You got Rock Ya-Sin, Ambry Thomas. John Lynch said that he'll start the season on whatever, you know, since he's hurt. So I don't know what that means for him. But he did say that in the interview that he said he'll start the season on whatever list. So I don't know if that means then that he counts against he'll start the season on the IR. So does that count against the 53?
No, I don't think so.
Because where does what's his face? Where does Dre Greenlaw start the season off at?
I think they said pup.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. And they said Ambry IR. So okay, so that might just be Ambry's way of keeping him a roster spot hanging on there, because we'll see what happens. But yeah, if he doesn't count against the roster, that's good. Let him start the season on IR then. But how do you think these cornerback spots shake out here?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think Ambry Thomas was going to make the 53 anyway. Yeah, and this is a good problem to have, I think, with the corners, because they're deep. I think they're as deep as they've maybe ever been under Kyle Shanahan. So you got Mooney Ward, Lenoir, Yadam, who's hurt right now, but I do expect him to make the 53 because he was operating as a starter, and he would play outside and Lenoir would play inside in camp with the ones. So those are the top 3. Then Renardo Green, I think, is coming along really nicely. So that's 4. And then I think it could either be Darrell Luter Jr. or Rock Ya-Sin. It really could be between either one of those guys. Ya-Sin is a veteran, and I think he's looked pretty decent. Like, he hasn't been too bad. Darrell Luter also, like, he's flashed here and there, but I think obviously more reps is going to be good for him. So he's someone who I think could use a strong game tonight to make a good case for himself. As far as Samuel Womack, I liked what I've seen from him actually in the preseason games. Like, he looks like he's playing with a different kind of confidence. So I wouldn't mind him making the practice squad, because he's not going to make the 53. But you know, I think he would be good for practice squad because he does play special teams as well, and he's been pretty solid at special teams. So I don't mind him there. So yeah, I think you have your 6 from Mooney Ward to Darrell Luter Jr.
Yeah, I think I would rather, like you said, Rock Ya-Sin, he's a vet, he's been around, but I think I would rather Luter Jr., you know, if it comes down to those 2. Like, I'm just more of if it's not that big of a difference between the talent, you know, like, keep our guy, our young guy that can still have time to grow and do all this, you know, instead of the guy that's already been around that you know what he is. That's just my way of thinking of it. Let's go to the safeties. Oh, and then real quick, you know, you talked about the cornerbacks being a good group and whatever. John Lynch even mentioned that that's as good of his group that we've had since John and Kyle have been here, he said. So,
yep.
Yeah. Safety I feel the same about this group. Like, I'm super excited for the safety group. For us having playmakers in the back end of our defense that can actually take the ball away, you know, like get interceptions. After having safeties back there that went so many years without getting an INT, it's nice to actually have, you know, real dogs and playmakers back there. So how do you think this shapes up? Obviously, we know Huff, is
Yeah.
still hurt, making his way back. But you got Double M, the rookie in there, being a little wrecking ball. George Odom, somebody that a lot of people have thought of as just a special teams guy up until this point. I've heard he's had a great training camp, preseason. So how do you see this group shaking out?
Yeah, I think you pretty much just named the four guys. This one's an easy one in my opinion. I mean, they don't have that many guys, so
Yeah.
Hufunga obviously gonna. I think I'm not even sure they'll put him on the pup list. I guess like
Mm.
that's to be seen, but
Because the
based on
pup
how
is the
things are
4 week one,
going,
or
4 weeks, yeah.
okay.
Based on how things are going, I think he can be ready before that. But maybe he needs time to like ramp up or things like that. Who
Hmm.
knows? But he'll make the 53 in any case, even with the injury. Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa, George Odom. Those are your four. Tracy Walker, like last week, he was making a bunch of mistakes. Like I'm not a huge fan. Jalen Mahoney is one guy who I think they brought him in as an undrafted free agent. He flashed to me in training camp. I liked what he's made of. He's obviously at the bottom of the depth chart, but I like what I saw. So like I would definitely want to keep him around, see what I can do with him. Practice squad is where I stash him, see if he can turn into anything. But yeah, that's how I'd have the safeties. Pretty easy decision in my opinion.
Yep, I agree. Since talking about BBL Drizzy, or what are we talking about here? Sin. I don't know, Sin, about that. All right, let's look at what else we got down here. All right, special teams. Since there's been a big
A
discussion
punter
about
controversy.
Presley. Yeah, punter controversy. I'm sure Jason loves this. But yeah, Mr. Harvin here, Mr. Harvin the third, has come in, and people are like, why can't we just pay him, $1 million as opposed to $3 million to Mr. Wishnowsky and save a couple mil? What are your thoughts on special teams shaking out here?
I think he definitely looks good. I don't doubt that. He I guess the question is like, is this just a fluke? Could he keep this up? This last preseason game, I think, will tell us a little bit more. He's not going to make the 53. I mean, keeping two punters would be crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they look to find some kind of trade partner for him. But who's trading for punters these days when I think everyone would know that the 49ers would just let him go anyway.
Right.
So yeah, I don't see that happening. So it will suck to see Presley Harvin go because he's been so nails in the preseason. But yeah, I don't see him sticking around.
Yeah, he is somebody that I've heard on his past teams and whatnot was very inconsistent. So, but hey, maybe he had a good enough showing that he earned himself a job somewhere, just not here. All right, get in the giveaway. Hashtag GOAT, GOAT, hashtag GOAT to get into the giveaway. Let me stop sharing this here. Again, one winner takes all. You got the artwork of the two goats. You got the baby goat, Brock Purdy. You got this goat himself here, Christian McCaffrey. And you got the little goat sticker too. Don't forget about that. So get in there. Hashtag GOAT. One winner takes it all.
And you can submit your entry from either one of our channels. So yeah, commenting hashtag GOAT on Mariah's channel or my channel will get you in.
Yep. So get in there. I had. Let me see what else I had while they're entering. Oh, so I wanted to go this whole episode without talking about any contract shit. But without getting into too much of the Brandon Ayuk drama, you know what I keep thinking about? And I remember when this all started, like as soon as the Super Bowl is over, right? And like you had BA's wife, whatever girl coming out. This is the last time we might touch this field, yada yada, all this shit, right? And I'm thinking, and the reason like I started like feeling like okay, this is gonna get done was because I kept coming back to the fact that John Lynch and Brandon Ayuk's agent are best friends. Like in each other's wedding, best friends, like best fucking friends. And I haven't really thought about that for a while, but for some reason when I was getting ready today, like that plot popped into my head. And I was thinking like, so much has been always is made about, oh, the players, like they can't take things personal when in contract negotiations, things get said on both sides, it's part of negotiations, yada, yada, yada. But we've had players come out, right, and say that that's hard because you're hearing the people that you think, right, that value you and all this shit, like come out and say like, no, we don't value this person this much. We feel this way about them, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, it's hard to just all of a sudden forget all the shit that you heard said about you and just come in like it's nothing, right? Like you're human at the end of the day, like if I were to sit here and say Steph's a fucking bitch and she's this and she sucks at podcasting and I hate her as a co-host, and then you show up next week to sit down and do a freaking podcast with me, like, it don't make it very easy working conditions, right? And so I'm thinking like, how does that work when that's your best friend on the other side negotiating a contract for your player? Like that's already a crazy situation. And then you have him like, the Brandon Ayuk situation has been crazy from start to not even finished yet. And it's been crazy up and down shit, being said and all this and that. And, wanting trades and all this. It's like, then they just, once this is all over, they just call each other up like, hey, you gonna come over to the barbecue next weekend? Like nothing even happened. Like that's a very strange circumstances there.
Yeah, I mean, and I thought it was interesting. I think it was in one of the actual like 49ers pressers that like or it might have been on the radio. The John Lynch said, yeah, like Brandon Ayuk hasn't done this before. And almost to say like he doesn't know what negotiations are like. In a way, like that's why he's taking it personally, kind of thing. And that, I mean, that makes sense. I think it's like a shock to these players a little bit to kind of be met with that, right? And yeah, I think that's why some of them do take it personal, especially with the 49ers, who we know play hardball and probably tell you things that you don't like to hear about you as a player and why you should be getting paid less, right? So yeah, I think there's a bit of a learning curve for some of these guys going into their first like NFL negotiation of what that can be like, and it can get ugly, there are no friends in business.
Collie says that Mike Garafolo is reporting that BA has traveled with the team to Vegas.
I mean, that's good news, right? I mean, he had been at the other games. I know those weren't like he was there last week at the home game in a suite, according to Lynch.
Kyle.
Kyle, yeah. So he's around. He's been around. That's what's so strange about it, right? And then we also see that he's liking posts about him, stories of Instagram stories of him wearing Steelers stuff, and like I don't know, it's just yeah.
I'm just
mixed
so ready
bag.
for it to be over.
Me too.
Hashtag GOAT Get in the giveaway. Give you guys a couple more minutes to get in there. Papa, that annoying ass guy, Papa, says he thinks we'll have a resolution shortly. I don't know what he knows, but you know. And Shanahan did say that he's talked to Trent Williams as well. So hopefully we get one of them back in the freaking building soon.
Like, yeah,
oh my God.
I think Trent is probably the more likely of the two to, actually begin practicing again. Or he'll probably be there starting Monday. Because I've seen, you probably saw the Deshaun Jackson thing of him saying he'll be there shortly. That's by him having spoken with Trent Williams like recently. So I'll take his word on that. And then also Matt Maiocco said the same thing on 49ers Talk that, he can picture this getting done pretty quickly, or both of them being in the building shortly. So
hopefully. All right, let's get this winner drawn. Let me share this.
Love the new logo, by the way.
Thanks. All right. Hashtag GOAT. Last call. I'm just being around so I won't get fined, Census. All right. One winner takes all. Good luck. Good luck. Here we go. Again, thank you all. We appreciate you guys for all your support.
Oh,
that
was close. That was a close one.
Woohoo! Congrats, Rob. He said when I first announced it like 30 minutes ago, he said, I'm feeling lucky.
There we go.
And there you have it. Let's play this real quick.
And I gotta say, I love his avatar because I don't know, it speaks to me right now with the 49ers situation. Pinching pennies over there.
Yeah, I love his name too. For only $30 million a year, you two can feed a wide receiver. That's hilarious. Steph, any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to tell the good people about before we get out of here?
Well, I think having a preseason game start at 7 p.m. is criminal. But in any case, we'll be doing a post-game show after the game. So make sure you guys tune in at Steph49K, my YouTube channel. And I'll be revealing who my post-game in-season guest will be this year in that show tonight.
There you have it. So make sure you guys tune in. Like I said, make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels, Steph49K and Faithfully in Vegas, both on YouTube, both free. We greatly appreciate it. I will be back Sunday at noon, 12 Pacific time, 3 Eastern with TL. So yeah, make sure if you guys don't tune into our shows that you do, the giveaways that you saw right now, we do a bunch of those all throughout our show. So yeah, come through, check it out. We'll be there on Sunday. And Steph, appreciate you as always. Me and Steph will be back next Thursday, normal time, normal day, Thursday, 3 Pacific time, 2 GOAT show. Till then, we're out of here. Everybody take care. Have a great weekend. Peace.